Hi, welcome, Jason. Thanks for coming on board to talk about your incredible transformation that we did, I think, just before Christmas.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Yeah, it was October, which was the kind of 20th of October was the deadline date. But yeah, it seems like a long time ago now, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, because we've had Christmas and all how COVID and all
Omicron,
all since then.
Yeah.
So why did you want to come and work with me? What was the impetus for starting this the transformation that you did?
All right, so couple of things. First of all, why I wanted to do it. I've always been into training. I've been kind of, I wouldn't say up and down yo-yo, but I've always been into training since I was like 18 years old. There's been periods in my life where I've gained weight and then lost weight, or lost fat, I should say, and gained fat. And there's been periods of my life where I've looked really good. Like I have really, I've done the work and I've looked good. And then a lot of the time it's been kind of maintenance. And what happened was, over the last couple of years, I'm quite a disciplined guy anyway. I have to be for what I do. And over the last couple of years, I just felt like I was kind of just going sideways, really. And I felt I wasn't really happy with my body. I knew what I needed to do, but I just kind of, I just didn't have the intrinsic motivation to really do it. And I thought, well, I need some accountability. My 40th birthday was coming up, and I thought, what better way to just kind of set a challenge for myself than 40th, look my best, feel my best. And that's what I decided to do. So I thought, I want to do it in a way that's kind of sustainable and not like a gimmick and go way over the odds and do some kind of something that's just not sustainable and then get to my 40th and then think I look amazing and then not be able to upkeep it. That wasn't the goal. And it was something that I just thought, who do I know who could really not only get me the goal or help me get the goal that I want, but also just educate me on a way where that can be ongoing. And it's going to be something that hasn't been like the past where I've gone up and down and up and down and up and down. So that's when I knew you through a mutual kind of business accelerator that we've both done. And I know that you know your stuff. I've watched your stuff online, and I just thought, this guy is the one that's going to help me understand my body more than anything, and that's why I got in touch.
Cool. And so maybe it's a bit of background as to what you do for a living, because then people understand the sort of level of analytics that you go to in terms of getting what you want. So maybe just a bit about yourself and what you do on a day-to-day.
Yeah, so as a person, I've got like hyper focus, and if there's something he's doing, I've got the ability to really remove all distractions and get something done. And it's almost like an obsessive personality. And that's really been developed through trading and investing. So I trade the financial markets. I have done for many years. I've invested since I was in my early 20s. And the higher the speculation, the more focus that requires. And if you have anything creep in, like outside noise or outside emotions or anything like that, you're done for, really. So I've practiced over the years to shut out everything that isn't aligned with what I believe and I think is going to be the outcome. And then I focus on, basically I focus on numbers and figures and mathematics that can't change. And then I know that if I just stick to that mathematical formula for a long period of time, without listening to anyone else, I'll get the result, I'll get the outcome. And that's very much the approach I wanted to take this time when I saw that that's how you work with body transformations and just well-being in general. That was attractive to me. And that just aligned with my approach and my methodology towards everything that I do in business and my own personal life.
Great. So the next thing is, obviously you said you've trained for a long time yourself, and you've done a lot of years training, so you've got training experience. What was there anything different, unusual about the training which stood out as a different method of training when we first started?
Yeah, totally. I mean, First of all, as I say, I'm one to shut out noise. So I've never been one to listen to gurus and fads and all the rest of it. I'm not stupid. But one thing that I've never really put my finger on is how nutrition and how different types of training and how all of that put together, what impact that has on your body and what each of those things do to serve different purposes. That's something I've never really understood. For instance, when I was during lockdown or a couple of years ago, I was running and doing loads of cardio, but I was out of shape. And I couldn't work out why I'd lost muscle, and I just looked, I couldn't put muscle on even when I did do weights. And then different nutritions and how different foods can complement different styles of training and what kind of macros we're trying to hit. I've never really taken the time to get all that together and put that in one kind of story, one approach. And that's something that's definitely something, honestly, that was probably the most drastic thing, by just understanding I need to do volume training on weights. I need to do this kind of food. I need to take this amount of protein, and that's why. And if I take this supplement here instead of here, it's going to have a different effect. And all these kind of little intricacies and nuances of basically nutrition and training, which I would never have found out before if it wasn't for the calls with you. And it just clicked. It was like, wow. And as soon as I've got that, I was literally seeing instant results. It was crazy. It was like, I mean, how instant it was. Yeah. The transformation was ridiculous, but it was literally like 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, I could see results, and then 4 weeks, and then 5 weeks. And then as we got towards the end of that 3 months, it was just, everyone was telling me how different I looked. And I was ripped, like the ripped I've most been since I was like early 20s. Yeah. It was crazy. So yeah, it really did work.
And I suppose, because I talk sometimes about channeling calories, and you just said it then about how you're expending so many calories, but once you channel that effort correctly into lifting weights properly and doing the right volume, it just seems to just happen overnight almost.
Oh, totally. And the best example I can give, because it's probably one of the biggest myths out there, is the carb thing. Because I wasn't having enough carbs. I couldn't even eat enough carbs. I had to buy a carb powder to put in my shake just to get more carbs, because I was limiting the output in the gym to then limit the results that I was getting. And people think carbs are evil. I couldn't even have enough carbs. I still wasn't getting enough. So it's crazy. Things like that, people kind of have this idea in their head, and they don't actually know why they're saying it or what effect that's actually having long term. And as you know, everything's about exponential results, so compounding, right? So if you're doing something wrong, you're potentially putting off months and months and months of wasted time. Whereas if you just get it right, it might take a little while, but you're going to see the results like ridiculously. And that's what I did.
Yeah, it just seemed to happen like very quickly. And
very quickly.
The other thing is that a lot of people, when they think about losing body fat, they immediately think, I've got to go on this restrictive diet.
Yeah.
Ironically, we actually had to increase your food. As you said, with the carbs, and because you weren't used to eating that many carbs, we had to do like pre-workout powders. What did you find about the nutrition? How did you find your meals? How easy were they to make?
Just so so simple. It was I was eating more than I could imagine. I was never hungry. 6 meals, 7 things that I was eating a day sometimes, plus protein shakes. I wasn't changing anything. I was still having I'd still have a bag of crisps. I'd still have a chocolate bar. I still had a couple of beers and things like that. Some weekends. And don't get me wrong. I was tracking everything, and I was strict with what I was doing, and I was strict with my training. But in terms of what I was eating, I was loving it. I was having porridge oats and yogurts and protein drinks and just normal food, rice, pasta, all the foods. It was just, I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of people feel like they have to drastically change their diets, when in actual fact, as long as you're tracking what you're eating, and you know how much you need of each thing, the results are inevitable, right? It can't not get the results. It's impossible.
And because you said at the beginning about you wanted to keep it after we finished working together, so it's been what, 2 months ish since we finished officially. Yep. And so how have you managed to keep everything on track in terms of your nutrition and training?
Well, that was the biggest. That was the kind of most life-changing thing of working with you, mate, is basically paving the way, putting the blueprint together so that I knew what to eat. So now I can eat pretty much what I want, because I know not only in the app or I'm tracking, because I will always track my food, and I think that's important for people to do. But I can almost I almost know, what's enough and what's not enough. And I've built the habit now of knowing what my body craves and what it needs, and what, based on how much training I've done. So going forward, it's been easy. It's a lifestyle now. It's not something it's not something I have to follow as such. It's not a slog. It's just something, it's just way of life. And it's great.
And could you ever see yourself regressing back to where you were before? I mean, what would have to happen for that to happen, to regress back?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like I've been reprogrammed. So I'd have to have some serious shift in values, which doesn't happen often, or I'd have to have dementia or something. But I think for now I'm just going to keep going. I've got new goals for this year that I want to hit, and I want to take my transformation a little bit further. And my goal is to keep taking it further until I'm at a place where I'm really, really, really like happy with my appearance, but not detrimental to my mindset and my concentration and focus, and just me having fun in my life. So I'm very aware of that, and I don't want to get to that point. So it's the balance, and I still feel like I've got a little bit more to push, which we're going to do this year.
Yeah, I remember I think it was mid-September or something, and you and Camilla were winding me up, both sending me messages saying that you wanted to do a show, and I was like, oh, I don't know how we're going to manage that with your training.
Yeah.
Totally pulled me in for a sec. I was like, oh no, how are we going to manage that?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing with the competitions and the shows and that. I think that would just not, that level would probably affect my mindset, and I probably couldn't afford to do that. There might be a period of time where I go, do you know what? I'm going to block out August and I'll go for it, but it's not something that I would want to maintain. That for me isn't a happy state to maintain. So that's not what my personal goal is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say, I want to get shredded. They've got this immediate image of like whatever a shredded person on stage is, and not knowing what actually is going to require to get to shredded level.
Yeah,
and because you got into really good condition, and that was only after 3 months.
Yeah,
and, the snow.
Yeah, and I was happy with that. Like I was shredded for me. That was a shred. I'd shred a lot of fat. Everything was distinguishable. Everything is kind of toned, and that was great. Now it's just tweaking that and making those look better and better.
Excellent, bro. Well, thanks very much for coming on. I appreciate you're really busy and you've got loads to do. So thanks very much. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to say awesome things about me? Nah.
I would mention your gym.
Oh yeah, you come down to train, didn't you, at Ministry?
Yeah. I would say that it was great that I got the opportunity to come down and train with you at your gym. I really enjoyed that. It's a great gym, unlike many of these kind of commercial knucklehead gyms out there. It was a real good atmosphere, good environment, and it's always good to see who you're training, who's teaching you, put in the work themselves, and that's definitely not what you see a lot of in the fitness industry, is it?
I remember you got the 50s up, didn't you, for 50 kilo dumbbells for press for like 10 reps or something? It was ridiculous.
I did, yeah. I lifted the 50s. I haven't lifted the 50s since I was about 23, so that was good. Yeah.
That was incredible. Excellent. Well, thanks very much, mate. Appreciate coming on, and I'm sure it's going to be fun this year doing something.
Yeah, it will be. It definitely will be. Yeah. Look forward to it. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.